Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Nice to see the familiar names. It's been a couple of weeks, I think, since I've done one of these. So, welcome back. Hope everybody's doing well. So, what are we going to do today? We'll just do a bit of a news catch up. And after catching up on the news, we'll open up the forum to some honest discussions on the Chexy Aeroplan partnership and how things are going for everybody. When were we last? I think the last time we did one of these lives, we had Aeroplan and Chexy executives here, which was a fantastic conversation. Way oversubscribed in terms of the live audience, so quite a few of us are of the Point Smiles and Bling folks from PMB Forum were locked out, but Heather did a great job in keeping folks abreast in terms of what was being announced. And then shortly after that, a couple of days later, we had the official announcement of the acquisition offers, the partnership itself launched. So we've all had a couple of weeks since then. So I just really will drill down to uh, what our experience has been. But before we do that, let's catch up on some of the news that caught my attention. And the forum is obviously always open for you to uh, tag on anything that I may have missed, or if you needed to point out. But uh, best to start more sort of locally domestic. WestJet, a couple of WestJet news items which are really interesting. So a few days ago, WestJet announced that they were introducing three new routes between the prairies and Atlantic Canada, which was fantastic news for WestJet. For the longest time, it looked like WestJet was sort of quote unquote retreating from the East Coast completely, but it looks like they are bringing back. At least one popular, the Halifax to Vancouver route is coming back as a summer route, four times weekly starting. When are they starting? Starting July 1st. And they're introducing three new routes. So Saskatoon, Halifax, Regina, Halifax, and Winnipeg, St. John's, Newfoundland. So yeah, Saskatoon and Regina will see their flights start up end of June, so June 28th and 29th, respectively. And Winnipeg flight is going to start twice daily starting July 1st. So great news. And I think it sort of also speaks to the demand and somewhat what's happening here in Canada that people are choosing to sort of travel more domestically for a multitude of reasons. Our relationship with the U.S. is at an all-time low, politically speaking. So people are actively trying to avoid travel to U.S. People are looking for better value out of the currency itself. The Canadian loonie not doing very strongly against the U.S. dollar or the European currencies. So more and more people are looking to travel domestic and local. And I've said this I mean, enough times that I personally am a big fan of exploring Canada during the summer months or even fall. So summer and fall are just some fantastic times to explore this vast country and everything it has to offer. So I think that's all of the airlines are reacting to that as well. And I feel like WestJet sort of quote unquote reinvesting into Atlantic Canada is a strategic move, which also is catering to the mood of the audience or mood of the travelers in Canada, which is to explore domestically. So we're getting three new routes from WestJet. And then the Vancouver Halifax comes back. So four new routes reconnecting prairies, the West Coast, the East Coast, and also really plays well with WestJet's access to Europe out of Atlantic Canada, particularly from Halifax, because right now, I think I'll have to pull up my own article here we had. Yeah. So right now, in terms of European access, WestJet flies directly from both, mostly more from Halifax and a couple of routes from Newfoundland as well. And they are covering Barcelona, Paris, Amsterdam, Dublin, Edinburgh, and London, UK. And so connecting people from the prairies, or even for folks that don't want to take that super long haul flight into Europe, can now and want to be in that WestJet ecosystem or want to redeem their WestJet points, can now redeem for Vancouver to Halifax, Halifax to say London, or Halifax to Paris, Amsterdam, wherever they might be looking to get to. So I think really good news for folks that dabble in WestJet points. A couple of comments here. Goldie says, competition starting amongst our airlines. Yeah, and it's competition as well because that Vancouver Halifax is going to be competed directly by WestJet and Air Canada, at least for the time WestJet continues to run its seasonal service. So yeah, it's really good to see that that's happening. Donna says, I wonder whether Air Canada will restore some of the Western routes. I hope so. I mean, why not? It would be great to have more direct routes, at least out of Atlantic Canada, going direct out west. Good times. I mean, the more we see airlines compete, the more routes and networks that we have here. Our points go a lot further, dynamic prices included. We still have more options through those points to redeem for our travels within the country, which is always good. Casey's here. Casey says, would be great to see daytime North America to Europe out of Atlantic Canada with this pivot. Huh, interesting. I never paid attention to what time these flights run. Casey, are you insinuating or do you know for sure that all of the European routes that are running out of Halifax or Newfoundland are all red eyes, are going nighttime? Because yeah, if that's true, then of course, I think that would be the next best thing in terms of what would change. Or what would get a customer to sort of lock in one of these airfares would be which is a better suited time frame. And Casey is confirming, yes, all our nighttime right now, which isn't great for the narrow body fleet. 100%. Yeah, for sure. Cool. So yeah, that was the big one, and then of course with that, because I've mentioned WestJet points, it'll be amiss to not mention another promotion that WestJet is currently running, which is a decent one, and all of us engage with, at least most of us in this points community engage with this product. So this is heads up, last call to use your WestJet companion vouchers for travel within Canada to earn additional 7,500 WestJet points. So if you book by April 27th, which is tomorrow, Sunday, book by April 27th. And if you're able to use your voucher, so this has to be the WestJet companion voucher booking, you can travel anytime between May 1st to October 25th. And as long as you're able to lock that voucher booking or companion voucher booking by end of day tomorrow, April 27th, you can earn a nice little 7,500 WestJet points. Again, as far as points go, not a huge haul, but if you were going to use your WestJet companion passes at some point, this might be a good time to do it. And heads up that this has to be for travel within Canada. So they're again trying to promote a little bit more travel within Canada through their enhanced routes, domestically speaking. Alex says, I've seen Halifax, London, Air Canada flight is daytime, 11 a.m. departure, London arrival at 8:45 p.m. Huh, that's nice. Cool. So I guess Air Canada has the upper hand there if you're particularly looking for a day flight. But if you're looking for WestJet to still compete on those day flights, you might not have those options just yet, from what I hear. But good to see that at least between the two airlines, people have options and you're able to fly either daytime with Air Canada, or if you don't mind the overnight flights or red-eye flights, you can still continue to fly WestJet out of Atlantic Canada. Good times there. Because I mentioned last call, another sort of heads up or last call on Amex membership rewards are doing the 30% transfer bonus to Bonvoy, which ends end of this month, so April 30th. The typical transfer ratio for that particular program, so Amex membership rewards, Canadian membership rewards to Bonvoy is 1.2, so 1 to 1.2. So for every 1,000 points, you get 1,200 points. That's the standard, the traditional. But with the bonus, the 30% transfer bonus, that increases to 1.56. So if you were transferring for every 1,000 points, you get 1,560 points, 60 Bonvoy points that you transfer. These transfers typically take a day or two to come through. And, what I'm thinking in right off the bat, purely in terms of value, I'm at a loss of words to really go out of my way and say, yes, you should do this. But really, it comes down to if you were trying to book your hotels, you needed to top up your account or whatnot, and membership rewards was the only thing that you had around, then do it. But otherwise, membership rewards the points itself, if you're able to use it directly for airline bookings, premium awards, of course, with Aeroplan or British Airways or wherever else, or Avios, for example, those conversions might be a lot better as opposed to converting them to a Bonvoy. And don't forget, with Bonvoy points, you can easily transfer from other household accounts to your account if you needed just a few more Bonvoy points. So that's another reason why I really struggle to think that this points community, the one that's sort of hardened and sort of nose down to the value of things, I mean, not the best value. That said, if you are flush with your membership reward points and you don't mind spending a few little points towards hotel bookings through Bonvoy, you can do that. And of course, there's once you bring your currency over to Bonvoy, it kind of really opens up the airline transfers as well. Of course, those won't be one-to-one or even near that, but at least for every 60,000 Bonvoy points that you transfer, you get 25,000 airline points, which is a good little perk. And if you were sort of hoping to sort of transfer your membership rewards into an airline that doesn't exist in the membership rewards portfolio, a slight devaluation going through, not devaluation, a slight loss of value going through membership rewards, but at least it opens up real opportunities for you. And if you're going, so say, for example, if you're booking first class out of Emirates, so even that little bit of loss in value from membership rewards into Bonvoy and then onto your Emirates accounts could potentially yield outsized value. So there is still things that you can do there, but not something that I can actively prescribe to everybody. Goldie saying, or just purchase a few points needed. Yeah, and purchasing is also another good way of doing it. And Bonvoy and Hilton both have sort of good programs that sell miles decently and regularly throughout the year that you are able to top up your accounts as and when you need it, rather. Uh, Speaking of purchasing points, this might also be a good time to purchase your Hilton points if you're looking for it. So 0.5 cents, that promo, that regular price point promo is on right now, I think maybe until the end of May or maybe well into June as well. So yeah, another good way of doing it. And I meant to write about this, but I haven't. There's a Waldorf Astoria that recently opened up in Costa Rica. And that Waldorf Astoria is a full resort, beautiful property right on the cliff. So it's cliff and ocean, that kind of property that is now taking reservations. And I was quickly looking through that. Cash rates are as high as $2,000 per night, 2,000 US dollars per night. But on points, on Hilton points, you can book them for 120,000 Hilton points, which is far, far cheaper in points. Even if you were starting at a zero value, you can easily buy your points through the promotion right now at zero point 0.5, and you're looking at a $600 kind of a redemption per night for the Waldorf Astoria, Costa Rica. And then there are several such examples. This one was just yet another outsized value that I was seeing. So for a lot of the searches that I was doing across fall, for example, in Costa Rica, late summer, early fall, or even late into fall, I was seeing consistently cash prices ranging anywhere between $1,800 to $2,400 per night. But the points redemption was static at 120 Hilton Honors points. So yeah, really good value out there if you were hoping to get to Costa Rica. Uh, Greg says, why I sometimes do a Amex to Bonvoy when there is a bonus is because I can so easily use my Bonvoy points or so often have last minute needs for a hotel and don't want to pay 350 for a room, but don't mind spending the 35K award. End result, don't have many Bonvoy points left, although Amex to Air Canada transfers better value. I have enough Air Canada at the moment. Yeah, and that's a great example. And thank you for putting that down, Greg. That would be a perfect thing that I was trying to say is if there are circumstances where if you need something quickly or if you sort of burn through your Bonvoy points quite regularly and are able to, because even with purchasing points, let's be honest, there's a limit of how much points you can purchase. If you just need if you have points readily available, and it goes back to the old adage that I've constantly said here, it's what are you willing to sort of invest? Are you willing to keep cash in your pockets and do something more reasonable once you're there, and use the points you have in hand right now, versus buying new points or purchasing new points, which means a little more cash out of your pocket. So yeah, you just have to plan out what you want and what you need to keep those points for. Yeah, so that was about how did we get here? What was I talking about? Amex MR to Bonvoy. Yeah, so a couple more days, end of April. So if you must, or if you had to, or if you had a good use and you needed those points right away, it's a good way to do it. Um, and speaking of transfers, RBC Avion currently has a 15% bonus if you convert Avion to Cathay Asia miles, which is pretty decent um, for 15% bonus transfer. So that's available until May 12th. So you have a few more days to decide if you wanted to do that, because that would typically, even if you got an RBC card sort of recently or right now, say all the Avion cards, RBC Avion is 55,000 bonus points right now, welcome bonus points right now. And the VIP card is 70,000 welcome bonus points right now, as well as the Platinum is 55,000 points. And the good news is across both of these cards, or all three of these cards, at least 35,000 is upon approval. So you can get 35,000 right away into your account and then move that to Cathay Asia Miles if you wanted, with a 15% bonus, which is pretty decent. And my favorite use of Cathay Asia Miles is intra Asia, or even Asia to Australia. There's a lot of good value to be had in that region. Or if you really wanted to do the entire North America to Asia, you can do it for, I think, 110,000 or thereabouts is what I remember with Asia Miles. But if you're doing it within Asia, there's just so much good value for those Asia Miles. The other way to get some Asia Miles or some more Asia Miles, obviously in Canada, is through the Neo Cathay World Elite MasterCard is another way. So the current offer is up to 40,000 points, 40,000 Asia miles. And that's the only card in Canada that earns Asia miles directly. So with 40,000, I think 20,000 is upon sign up, if I'm not mistaken, and another 20,000 when you spend about $4,000 or $5,000 in the first 3 months. Somebody will have to take a quick peek, but that's what my immediate instinct is from what I remember. And then there's also a 15% code that you get if you're going to book Cathay flights directly using that card. You can use a code, and that gives you up to 15% off on Cathay flights, which is pretty nifty. But if you compared the two directly, RBC Avion cards right now in their current offers versus Neo Cathay card, I would still stick with the RBC cards. Get your card if you haven't yet, and then are able to convert that with a 15% bonus. Yeah, so those are some of the promotions. Since we are mentioning reminders, perhaps a good reminder that our next The Points, Miles and Bling Ottawa meetup has now been scheduled for Saturday, September 6th. And I know it's a while away, but the reason I'm giving you all a heads up is more save the date, so that if you're planning to book your late summer, early fall trips, and you want to attend one of these meetups, then you want to sort of hopefully work around those dates, and I'll see you in Ottawa. The tickets and access to those events will open up in the next week or two. So keep your eyes and ears open on the usual forums, and you'll be able to sort of lock in your Ottawa meetup tickets pretty soon. Um, as far as promotions and big news items go, I think, oh, Goldie, you're asking about tickets. Yeah, exactly what I said. In the next few days, I think the first week of May, I'll put out a few, and we'll do discounted tickets, and we'll cascade it, because for people that are buying this far in advance, I want to give you a pretty decent discount. And then as we get closer to, it'll get a little more expensive. The Ottawa location is York on William, and we've done that. We've done a meetup there before. For those that may not know, York on William is the name of the building, which is YOW. Nice play on words. Um, yeah, Starling. Starling is the name of the lounge. So Starling Lounge on the first floor, on the second floor rather, on York on William will be our location. So yeah, looking forward to hosting all of you folks in the next few months. Um, yeah, so that's the news. Any other news items that you came across on the travel spectrum that we should be talking about because I think these were the noteworthy ones that I thought these are quick heads up items that I wanted to give you. And if not, let's transition to our sort of what I'm calling the topic of the week. And I wanted more feedback and do an honest review of the Chexy Aeroplan partnership, and particularly Chexy as a product. For a lot of us that have just started engaging with the Chexy platform, I wanted to see how things were going, because now we've had a couple of weeks to set up our accounts, to link our Aeroplan accounts, to be able to make those first payments, perhaps see a few more Aeroplan points because you've signed up through the partnership and whatnot. So yeah, what is your overall reaction uh, through the Chexy platform? So I'm going to open it up. We'll wait and see if there's any comments coming in. But I just wanted your overarching view of what is your feeling? How is this going for you right now with the initial interaction through the Chexy platform? There were a couple of comments about the initial launch offers being somewhat tepid. And while I want to say yes, they weren't like doorbusters, uh, most most acquisition offers tend to be fairly uh, muted these days, is the right word. Think about all of the Aeroplan offers through retail partners that we've seen. So think about LCBO, Uber, and I'm not saying Chexy is the same as LCBO and Uber. I'm just saying it's kind of like that in that sphere. So it's not a huge offer, but it's pretty decent. Up to 10,000 points is not bad at all that you're able to do. I was able to link my Aeroplan account. There was a lot of concerns around how to link Aeroplan account without making that first payment or without setting up that first payment. And the obvious answer was, yeah, once you've set up your Chexy account either through a referral or directly through the Aeroplan links that you got in emails, you simply have to set up your first payment. And in that process of setting up the first payment, it would ask you about your Aeroplan information and for you to link your account. And I was able to do it pretty straightforward. And yeah, so that was half decent in terms of how things went for me. The good news is, as Scott mentioned in our meeting the last time, is as this is just one of the first offers that they're doing as a launch offer. And the other criticism, sort of mild criticism, was also the fact that what about existing Chexy users? They didn't see as much love as those that were signing up new to the account. And to that, I would honestly say it's no different than any other brand or any other credit card company or things like that. Your acquisition offers tend to be stronger than any other offers for existing members, but that's not to say that existing members can't leverage some of the things that are happening within the partnership. And like Scott had mentioned through our meeting, that this is just the first step. And as the partnership grows and evolves in the next few months, next few sort of business quarters and cycles, we'll see other promotions being put through Chexy, much like we see through Aeroplan Uber, through Aeroplan LCBO, and other pieces. So I'm hoping to see a few other promotions for existing members on an ongoing basis. And my overarching view through all of this is it's a great partnership, opens up another avenue for this points community to really earn thousands and thousands of points through your tax payments, through your rental payments, through your utilities, through property taxes, or whatever the case might be. So overall, I think it's a great partnership. The setup has been decent. We'll talk about a few challenges and glitches, but I see a few questions coming in, or rather comments coming in, that I want to talk to, that I want to read out loud. So Donna says, signed up to get initial bonus and paid income taxes, but not sure I'll use it for much more than that unless more value is ongoing or oncoming. Yeah, Donna, I think a lot of people that have signed up initially, and this is also great, and it's no surprise that the timing was around the personal tax season, or when people are paying their taxes or whatnot. So a lot of people have signed up particularly for that. And for those of us that are renting, they can easily use that avenue for their rental payments. Property taxes is going to be a big one if it's a static payment that you're paying on a monthly basis or whatnot, or even if you're paying annual premiums to all of the other insurance companies and things like that. Car leases are an option. So those are great options that really open up value, or at least things that you would have normally paid, but by paying a little more fee, you get a lot more in return of your points. That said, the obvious thing is a lot of the insurance companies, cell phone companies, and them take direct payments through credit card. So there is no real reason for you to go through Chexy and pay that additional fee. But if you find yourself making a payment to any of these other sort of expenses, monthly expenses in your household that you typically don't get points for or only accept debit or things like that, then this is a great avenue for you. Mateus says, been using it for rent for 2 to 3 years. Platform is great. Just Aeroplan partnership is underwhelming. Was expecting some kind of recurring earn. Um, yeah, I mean that the recurring earn continues, right, Mateus? That doesn't change. Like if you've been paying your rent for the last 2 to 3 years, I'm assuming you were using Aeroplan card. And if not, you can just add your Aeroplan card and it continues to be a recurring earn on those points, right? But I get your point. You're saying it's not radically different than what the platform was doing for somebody that's already in the platform. 100%. But I think it's a big sort of opening for a lot of everyday Canadians that may not have not known about Chexy. And I'll be honest with between my personal taxes, my business taxes, and everything else that I was doing, I live in a rental condo, and my building takes they have their own payment platform, and they charge 2.1, just about 2.2% is what I was paying when I was using my credit card, and I've been doing that for years now. So yeah, it again, Chexy comes with a rate that's much lower. So in terms of pure value of points acquisition, it's very tempting to move everything to Chexy, which is what I'll be doing. But for those of you that were already using it for rent, it's a great platform, but not sort of the new partnership that Aeroplan doesn't open any new doors that weren't open before. So yeah, point well taken, Matthias. Heather says plastic is now charging cross-border fee. Interesting. I guess no different than what Chexy is doing, right? So their fee is slightly higher when it comes to doing using any international cards. So uh, plan to use Chexy for strata fees. Yeah, that's a good one. So condo fees that go on, that's a good one to do. Raul says, is there a way to generate account number to pay bills via pre-authorized debit? Good question. Not currently, or at least what I've scoped out, not currently. There's a few restrictions around being able to use your pre-authorized debit. So Chexy just recently added, before this partnership was announced, one of their last few things was, yes, you can pay taxes, and yes, you can use pre-authorized debits to pay your thing. Chexy does support pre-authorized debit, but what they don't support is multiple payments through those pre-authorized debits. And I kind of read this on the website on the FAQs, and basically is that yes, in theory, you can use the banking details. So they generate some what they call a digital deposit account. Basically, that when you do your pre-authorized debit setup, what they're setting up is on the background, they're setting up a digital account for you, which gives out the usual account number, transit number, institution number, and all of that, which you can give to anybody that's doing a pre-authorized debit for your expense. That said, the FAQ particularly spoke about two things. The pre-authorized debit does not support multiple transactions at this point of time, and also does not support variable payments. But if you were doing that, basically what that means is if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to use the pre-authorized debit for more than one payment, or if you wanted to do payments which are variable every month, you have to manually go and update and change it every single time. So just keep that in mind. But other than that, the pre-authorized debit will not work any differently than any other banking account, I suppose. So yeah, lots of scope there. And don't forget, like Lisa was saying, that this is just the start of things. While she didn't want to commit to many things on a live forum, they are actively working at bringing on a lot more to the Chexy platform in the next few months. So things like not being able to store or process more than one credit card at a time, not being able to process multiple payments through your pre-authorized debit and things like that. I think that'll get ironed out in the next few months, if not the next year or two, for sure. So yeah, the platform is strong. The opportunities are, for a lack of a better term, endless. I'm asking, Rahul says, I'm asking because certain bill amounts change every month. Yeah, okay. So that'll work for strata fee because it stays the same, but not hydro. Correct. And what you're asking is variable payments. And again, for variable payments, you have to go and update every month. Or if you don't mind a little bit of overpayment, keep it slightly more than your typical average amount, and it'll go through as an overpayment in some months. And in some months, if you go over, the previous overpayment will take care of it on the vendor side. Like, you know what I mean? You can do that, but if it's variable amount by a lot, then you have to update every month. Yeah, and Mateus is backing it up. Mateus says you would have to log into Chexy and update the bill amount before the charge date. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, you could do that, but and Rahul says I didn't think about that. I'm assuming that you meant if it's the variability, if it's just a little bit up and down, say 20, $25 here or there, especially with utility bills, then I would just tend to keep it on the higher end and let them or let some months be overdrawn. And then if some months you're going sort of slightly over, then sort of compensates it on the vendors, and that's one way to do it. Jonathan is here. Jonathan says, I think most utilities have an equal billing plan that equalizes out the payments. So they are the same each month. Okay. I don't know what equalizing payments really mean, to be honest, but I think in essence, we're talking about the same thing, right, Jonathan? That a little bit over, a little bit under, and sort of works itself out, even if you've paid a little bit extra some of the leading months, that will compensate for it. Mateus is not sure what happens if you over provision your virtual pre-authorized debit amount in Chexy and the pay doesn't withdraw all of it. Hmm. Okay. Right. I assume they save it for next month, but I have never used it personally. Yeah, I see what you mean. So you're saying that, so for example, if my hydro bill is, say, if I've set it at 125 and that month's bill is only $100, are they withdrawing only $100? Will the payment not go through because the vendor is coming in and trying to withdraw 100, whereas the Chexy thing is set at 125? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Um, I think the appropriate question, if somebody wants to put it to customer service, would be, does the amount have to be exactly what the vendor is going to charge, or can you be slightly over? Um, yeah, I've not used it personally either, because again, my utility company allows me to put my credit card directly, so everything goes directly through my credit card without having to pay any additional fee. So that's been good. Um, Right. So, what are some of the other things? So, let's start right up top. So, one of the things that kind of surprised me was, well, the questions started coming right on the day of launch as to how do you link your Aeroplan card, and I mentioned this before. They could have made it a little more evident in the interface itself that you have to first set up your payment. In that first setup, your Aeroplan linking is going to happen, because I think a lot of people that signed up for Chexy were kind of hoping, especially if you were doing it through an Aeroplan link, were kind of hoping that they'll take the Aeroplan information at the time of account setup. But that's not what was happening. You have to set up your Chexy account, and then when you make the first payment setup, that's when the Aeroplan linking was happening. The linking itself was super smooth, and I think I love the interface, to be honest. It's very user friendly for when things work, and we'll talk about a few things that could be potentially better UX in the system itself. One of the first things is when you log in with your two-factor authorization. I don't know if folks have seen it, especially if you do it on a desktop. Or actually, no, if I even when I was doing it on mobile browser, it says authentication failed and then immediately takes you over. But it does give you like that 1 second view of that red uh, comment saying authentication failed, but it takes you through if you just, yeah, the panic screen, as Heather is saying. Yeah, so I think that's a big uh, UX failure. Because like in terms of a user experience, that's a big one. Because for the first couple of times it happened, I kept, as soon as I saw it, even before it took me over, I would say resend code. So it did that a couple of times, and I thought, oh, my hot finger needs to stay off that button for just maybe another 5 seconds or 3 seconds, and then it goes through. So yeah, that's hopefully an easy improvement on the user experience side. Time will tell. Donna says equal billing plan is utility is utility estimates, oh, well, is utility estimates your bill for the year and divides it by 12 for a 12 equal payment plan each month, then adjust the final bill depending on actual usage. Okay. Thank you, Donna. Yeah, I didn't realize. I don't think my company is doing that, but like I said, I have things in auto setup, so everything gets charged directly to the credit card. So I've never paid attention to this equal billing plan. But yeah, if you have that, I think that should resolve all of the Chexy things, right? Um, yeah, so where were we? Authentication failure, that message that pops up initially. After I set up my first CRA payment, the personal taxes that I put through, um, just the number of emails I got were unusually high. And I know some people love more and more emails telling you what's happening with your payment. But to me, I'm a kind of guy, I just need two emails. One, yes, thank you for setting up your payment. It'll be paid on such and such date, and hey, it's such and such date and your payment has gone through. I don't want constant emails in between telling me, oh, it's going to happen. Oh, it's going to happen. Oh, 2 more days, it's going to happen. Or 3 more days, it's going to happen. Like it's just constant. I mean, I just want to do it and forget it until it's done. Like, you know what I mean? Again, this is a personal user experience thing. Tell me if you are different. But between my single payment, and maybe they were doing it because it was my first setup. So they were trying to handhold it a little bit more. But I got somewhere close to 4 to 5 emails telling me that this payment was about to go out from the day I set it up to the date actually went out. And then, of course, the end to end was close to like 8 days, 7 days or so by the time I saw it on my CRA account, which seemed quite quite a lot compared to the competition out there. Like Pay Simply, I can tell you they say 2 to 3 business days, but literally within 2 business days, every single time I see that payment reflected on my CRA account. Um, so again, just something else that I think Chexy folks can work on. But I do like their visuals of the timeline, right? Like in terms of the date and where it's at and things like that. But just not a big fan of like too many emails coming through. Uh, Heather says, as annoying as HelloFresh emails. I'm not sure. I'm not subscribed to HelloFresh, but yeah, a lot of emails just is not the best user experience for me. Um, but yeah, the number of days can significantly improve. But I think the added number of days in this case, what's happening is they're putting the money into your sort of Chexy wallet, charging your card into your Chexy wallet, and then in the next 2 to 3 days, it then goes out. So that additional padding is happening front end. But to be honest, I quite like the Aeroplan tracker as well, the points tracker, or what some of the acquisition offers were, which ones I had met and which ones I could still, what are other things I could still do to earn those additional points. So fantastic sort of timeline and tracker. The bonus tracker in the account is really, really nice. And likewise, I like the referral tracker as well to see where my referrals are. And it was fairly reflective as soon as people were making their first accounts. I mean, first setup, first bill payment setup. I think it was showing right away. So I noticed that with a few other household accounts that we were doing. So yeah, so those two trackers and setups were really nice. We've already spoken about the variable amount and how you have to go in and do that every month if it's coming through. So that's something that you just have to do. We've spoken about the pre-authorized debit as much as it has so much potential, including bill payments to various other places through pre-authorized debits, or including bill payment and pre-authorized debit as a two separate thing. But just yeah, reminder that multiple payments or variable payments still don't work through pre-authorized debit as of this point. So here's an overarching question for you. Anyone listening in right now that is not using Chexy yet, and what's holding you back? Chexy's, so the other piece I'll tell you is if you're the kind of person that likes to read up a lot and get stressed over things that are not in your control, uh, the Chexy Reddit forum is both good and bad because some of the things that people comment on, well, it's Reddit, people comment and say many of things. Everything is posed as an issue. And what I have seen personally, 80% of those things are not real issues. They are just very specific circumstances that people have run into based on how they acted and reacted based on what their expectation was, and the system was doing some things slightly differently. That said, there's a few things that are in there that you should look at. So if you don't already follow the Reddit Chexy thread, you should. But just fair caution that there's a lot of stuff there that is just like, nope, it's not a system issue, it's a user issue, or it's so specific to that particular user, and most users will position it like it's a system issue, but it's very, very specific to that particular user. Jonathan, oh, a few more comments that I've missed. Uh, Mateus says, I agree, too many emails, although the one that warns you your card will be charged in 3 days is useful in case you forgot to change the credit card you wanted to use that month. For sure. Yeah. Uh, Agreed. Heather says, oh, actually, speaking of card changing, I've already changed my card twice now. So I made one big payment, changed my card, made a smaller payment, and I think I'm about to change it the third time, either today or tomorrow, to make another payment, another small payment. And each time the card changes have been super easy. I don't think I've seen an easier interface than that. But I see a few complaints in Reddit, which I don't understand why they're running into these issues. Speaking of Reddit and speaking of a couple of emails I got, I'm not going to name the two people that emailed me, but they were asking me about Plaid verification. I've only paid CRA one-time payments thus far. Mateus or others that have been using the system for long enough, when do you have to go through a Plaid verification process through Chexy? Because obviously I didn't go through it, so I had no idea. And when I quickly Googled it up, Chexy has a whole FAQ about it. But I was wondering if this was more through when you set up your rental payments, recurring payments, or such. I'm assuming that's the case. The question being asked, or the couple of emails I got was, hey, why can't I do the Plaid verification and the card setup without setting up a payment? Um, and again, one of those things, I think that's their preference, is to be able to do all of that before they make that first payment setup. And I think the Chexy platform is set up such that these processes are built into the payment setup process, and not as a standalone process in the dashboard itself. Um, so if you have experience with that, I would love to hear your comments on that. In the meantime, Heather says you should be able to adjust your email preferences. Yeah, I mean, I also don't want to fully sort of switch out Chexy emails. I want to see them, but again, I'm sure Chexy has a lot more data points than just a small group of us that are here today. Um, but if they can just reduce the number of emails that go out between setting up the payments and the payment actually going out, like I said, in a long run, once you get used to these payment systems, you ideally want these two things, right? Thank you for setting up your payment. These are the dates it's going to go out. Your card is going to be charged on such and such date, and the actual payment is going to go out on such and such date. One email. One email, and the last email, or the second email and the last email should be, hey, your payment has gone through. Thank you for the blah, blah, whatever. Those are the two emails I would want to see. I think between Pay Simply, who sends just one email acknowledging, and Chexy that sends so many emails, I'm sure there's some happy medium that companies need to hit. So it'll be nice if that gets tweaked, obviously, over time as they get more and more feedback and data points from their users. And hey, uh, from my perspective, if what do I know? There might be people that like all of these emails and they'll stick to this. But just something that I wanted to point out as a feedback. Um, Goldie says, or you have one email with an update button like UPS. Huh, one email with an update button like UPS. I'm trying to think, do I know this update button through UPS? I'm not sure. Okay, so apparently some one update button also seems to do the same things and avoid multiple emails. Jonathan says they need to move from SMS authentication to two-factor multi-factor authentication, more secure, convenient when traveling. 101%. Thank you, Jonathan, for bringing that up. More and more now banks have started doing it. Banks used to be exclusively on these SMS things, but now banks have switched. Most Canadian banks, I think, if not all Canadian banks, do a in-app notification, kind of like RBC, Scotia, I think CIBC does the email and SMS, but the others do in-app notifications, and both of these work wonderfully well, no matter where you're at, traveling, this, that, and the other. But if it's just SMS authentication, it can be a little tricky. And with that, I agree, Jonathan, that if you're traveling, SMS authentication is not only inconvenient, from if you really pay heed to what the technical folks have to say, it's not as secure either. Um, Heather says, haven't yet. Oh, signed up, I think, for Chexy. Plan to, was waiting for my new RBC card, ran out of time for payment deadlines. Okay. Mateus says, by the way, found an answer on Reddit to the overpaid pre-authorized debit question I had earlier. They refund any extra unused amount to your credit card. Mateus, when you say they, are you talking about Chexy? So if a lower amount, so if I've set it up for 125 and the vendor takes 100, the additional 25 gets refunded by Chexy to your credit card? I think that's what you mean, but if you can confirm, that'll be great. Jonathan continues and says, when setting up recurring uses, oh, when setting up recurring payments, the PLAD verification ID verification happens at that point. Yeah, I kind of had that feeling because when I did the CRA setup, nothing happened because I was only doing one-time payments. But yeah, the other feedback that I got, at least the two emails, very specific emails, which turned into a bit of a back and forth, were only about this PLAD verification and why both of these people couldn't do their PLAD verification and credit card setup in the system without setting up any payments. Donna says, I didn't on initial setup for CRA, but my husband did on CRA payment and it wouldn't verify. Really? Interesting that they're doing a PLAD verification on CRA payment as well. So clearly it's picking up some users to do this and some not. Could be a randomized thing. Interesting. Okay. So I guess I've just been lucky that I didn't get picked up for a PLAD verification. Yeah, PLAD is used by a lot of vendors and companies now. Heather says Plastic also uses PLAD. Sash is here. Sash says CIBC does uh, push on app as well. Huh. Okay. I guess, yeah, I guess I just haven't had CIBC do a push to app. I'll have to check. Okay, good to know. Mike is here. Mike says, if it takes approximately 1 week for a payment to be sent, what does the biller see as payment date? For example, if I have a bill due May 1st, am I too late to send it? Unfortunately, the answer to that, who asked that question? Oh, lost. Sorry, lost your comment. Who was asking that? Mike. Yeah, Mike, unfortunately, I think the answer to that is yes, you are kind of late if you are hoping for a May 1st payment, because from what I see, unless some people have done other payments, feel free to chime in. Most payments are taking anywhere between 5 days to a full week to up to 8 days, which is what I saw for some of the FAQs, 7 to 8 days. So unfortunately, if you set things up today, you are kind of going to be late on your payment. Um, Depending on what kind of payment, I mean, most companies that are billing you have have a couple of days of buffer, and their systems will try to take your payment a couple of days after as well. But again, it really depends, and they might see it as a missed payment. So please, at least for now, from everything I've read on Reddit, seen myself on the system and their own FAQs, they are advising you to set things up well in advance, at least a week to 8 days in advance of your billing date. So caution. Mateus is confirming, yes, it's Chexy that refunds money back from your wallet into your credit card. Perfect. Thank you, Mateus. Um, Rahul says, activating my first bill, it's asking for a promo code. Is that where you enter a referral code? No, I don't think the promo code is the same as a referral code. Rahul, the referral code is really to set up your account. Again, if people have more information, feel free to chime in. Uh, Donna says, I set up my CRA payment on April 22nd, was taken on April 24th, and I saw it on my CRA account yesterday, 25th. Hey, look at that, 3 days. That's awesome. Oh, actually, you know what? Mine could have been longer because it was done around the Easter long weekend. So maybe, but their FAQs I can confirm say 7 to 8 days. Um, So Donna, if I haven't set anything up since that I've seen go through in 3 days particularly. So yeah, but that's a great data point that it is possible. So who was it? Mike, maybe you could try in the system. You don't have to go through the entire setup and complete it. But as you're setting it up, it does give you some dates and deadlines, or just look up the FAQs and see what it's saying, depending on the kind of payments you're trying to set up. So yeah, you may want to, because obviously based on Donna's data point and my own and a few others we've seen, there's variability in there. Apparently there's no set dates these things are happening. It sometimes can tell you 8 days and be done in 3 days. Sometimes, or in my case, it did literally take up to full 7 days before I saw it on my CRA, and I could see all of those emails go through as well. I mean, come through as well, which told me that things still hadn't been done. And by the time it went through, it was a solid week that I waited for my CRA payment to reflect. Cool. So these are some really, really good data points. And a couple of you that are still sort of waiting and holding back, yeah, go ahead and make those payments. And Mike's question is sort of my response to Mike's question is now revised with Donna's comment. Is Mike, it may be worth trying to set up and see what it says, or at least read the FAQs and see what they say in terms of timelines for your particular kind of payment, be it rent, be it a CRA payment, be it utility payment. It could be different, and you don't want to get penalized. There's a few data points on the Reddit forum as well about people that missed their billing, or their biller was showing missed payment because it didn't happen on the date was expected to happen. So well in advance is what I would say. But that's me. But if you are flexible in terms of 1 or 2 days here or there, then yeah, by all means, go and make that setup today. Cool. All right, so that was our a bit of a deep dive in terms of feedback and data points from the users in the last couple of weeks since the partnership had launched. And thank you everybody for being so engaging as usual. Let's go on to the last thing that I had on my radar. I came across Point.me. If you don't already know them, they are a service that sort of where you can store all of your information, all of your points information, and they'll give you all the best routes, options, alerts, notifications, and all of that. Point.me actually published a decent report. I came across this through LinkedIn. And the report is titled "The Big Business of Points and Miles," and it was published last month. Actually, I'm not going to go through the entire report, but there was some really good infographics in there and some big takeaway points that I really wanted to reflect on as a community that I know likes to nerd out on these things. So let's take a couple of these things. The report is decent. It's not the most comprehensive report, but it's a good coverage if you wanted to know in a nutshell how the points and miles business sort of runs from both the perspective of a consumer as well as the airline, as well as the other partners that are in play. But the big one was their first infographic reads, "Points are the world's third largest currency." So currently 300 billion with a B worth of award points are issued annually, which is apparently equivalent to Greece's GDP, which I thought was a great way of looking at how many points are put out across loyalty programs around globally. 300 billion. And that's insane. But not as insane when you realize that the largest loyalty program, is Delta Sky Miles, and they have more than 120 million users globally. Isn't that insane? 120 million users. That's the largest program, and mind-boggling. No wonder things are at Sky Peso level, because they just have such a large membership that is using all of these points in so many ways. The dynamic pricing does its thing. Uh, so yeah, just those two things by itself were like, wow, really. Um, And the other piece from another infographic further down shows in 2005, The Economist did an article which is called The Funny Money. And they were talking about the unredeemed miles. And it says, and I'm reading it right off the report, it says, in a January 2005 article titled Funny Money, The Economist declares that the number of unredeemed frequent flyer miles was worth over 700 billion more than the dollar bills, which is obviously more than the dollar bills in circulation. So this is 2005, more than 700 billion frequent flyer miles were unused sitting in that ecosystem, which I thought was, again, wow, what? Um, Gives you an idea of how many people out there are not using their points as willingly as this community does. And so now coming down to another infographic from that report, from the point.me report, which kind of not blew my mind, but I was like, really? And I had to like fact check and double check, and they were right to put this on the report. But based on 2023 numbers, this is what's the source? The source of what I'm about to say is Forbes 2022. So not 2023, Forbes 2022. The loyalty program yearly revenue total across the airlines in North America was 25 billion, over 25 billion, of which American Airlines was the biggest that makes money out of their loyalty program. So loyalty program brought in $5.8 billion for American Airlines Advantage program. And here's the one that I had to go fact check because I was like, surely this is not true, but it was true, is Air Canada was $1 billion. Alaska Airlines was $1.5 billion. And I couldn't believe that as a loyalty program, Alaska Airlines was bringing in more money than Air Canada. And again, these are 2022 numbers, but hey, what the heck? And not just that, JetBlue wasn't far off from that $1 billion number. It was $0.9 billion. So I'm thinking in terms of the scope of loyalty programs or how big they are, Alaska beats Air Canada in revenue, at least from this study in 2022, which is crazy. Alex says hackers going after crypto wallets are going after the wrong currency. Well, the thing is, I think hackers know or may have a better, more direct use of cryptocurrency as opposed to then trying to understand how to best use the points. So yeah, hackers may need some consultations as well. If you are one of them, I can consult you on some of your miles and points, dear hackers. It'll come at a pretty penny, but if you've hacked people and want some help, let me know. Just kidding. Okay, so yeah, that number was crazy to me, and here was a really good comparison. Again, this comparison came from an example in 2019 that American Airlines reported. So American Airlines was trying to sort of display how much our I guess for lack of a better term, a usual, a casual consumer would spend on their airline versus a frequent flyer or a member of the program would spend on their airline. So the difference was stark, almost three times. So it says average American Airlines flyer spends about $408 in a year. The average Advantage program, so a frequent flyer member of the program would spend $1,200, so three times more than an average, which now tells you why airlines, hotels, everybody wants more and more members in their ecosystem is because you are likely to spend at least three times more, at least in this example. So at least double, if not three times more, if you were an engaged member in the program. And all of us here know this very well, that sometimes we will spend a little bit more just so that it fits our run for status, so that it fits our SQD, SQM, SQS, or a certain credit card that I want to use, or a certain airline or a product or an aircraft that I want to use. Like it could be a whole bunch of reasons why we spend more, but when you're an engaged member of a loyalty program, you do change your behavior, and that's just the crux of the matter, if you think about it that way. The other piece that I learned through this, and I probably never thought about it, that this happens. So, when you think about the ecosystem, you obviously know that airlines are selling their points to credit card issuers, banks, they're selling points directly to the consumers. What I didn't know is airline loyalty program sell their own currency to the airline itself. So I'll give you an example. In this case, they gave an example of United. United Mileage Plus program is under a subsidiary holding called Mileage Plus Holdings. So separate, for lack of better, just for easier understanding, a separate company. The loyalty program is under a separate company, and United Airlines must pay or must pay Mileage Plus Holdings, the loyalty program company, money at cost. So they're not charging them over and above, but at cost, say 1 cent is just 1 cent. They have to pay them in order for United to give these points to its members when they are flying United or doing whatever else they're doing with United. And I didn't realize that loyalty programs would be a separate entity within the larger company, and then they have to sell the points at cost to the airline itself, which was really neat. I guess it kind of makes sense when I thought about it, because accounting becomes easier, and which also explains why revenue management is constantly fighting with loyalty programs for seats, allocations, availability, and things like that. The airline revenue management, that is, because they are also selling the points to them, and or the airline is buying or paying money to utilize those points on their seats. So yeah, really, really interesting stuff. From again, we are referring to Point.me report that is titled "Business of Points and Miles." So I'm just going through some of the infographics and some of the things I learned. I kind of was like, huh, really? So yeah, if you get a chance, read through it. And there's also another infographic which really explains the fundamental view of what it is to purchase a particular ticket. It gives an example of New York City to London, and there's 5 ways of purchasing it now. Cash price, of course, and they've given an example of a cash price. If you go through a Chase portal, certain number of points. If you go through American, certain number of points in cash. United, so everything is different, and customers have to constantly make these decisions, especially if you're engaged in more than one or two loyalty programs. And there were some numbers in the report where most Americans at least had one, if not between 1 and 3 loyalty programs in their wallet. And I would like to think that this points community has at least 5, 6, 7, 8, or more just airline points that they dabble in, right? So you just have to constantly make value propositions and value calculations before you decide which program and which redemption is best value for your route that you're trying to take. Uh, yeah, and then the last one, I guess I'll talk about. This infographic was pretty neat. It talks about unused miles, and when was this? So based on 2018. So 2018, a study was done, and McKinsey estimated the global number of unredeemed airline miles to be 30 trillion with a T. 30 trillion in 2018 was the estimated unused miles that customers or was available in the ecosystem, and it was just sitting there. So you know how often we sort of worry about, oh my, I have orphaned 2,000 points or miles somewhere. Hey, you're not alone. Apparently, 30 trillion of these miles and points are sitting unused somewhere. Uh, Again, and it says, a neat little infographic says, enough for 250 million round trips to Europe in business class. uh, yeah. So if you want to nerd out a little bit more, uh, take a look, enjoy that read. It was an enjoyable read, more than enjoyable read. It sort of taught me a few new things that I had not either thought of or not realized, particularly that the loyalty programs have to sell their points to the airline itself uh, at cost. Was a new one for me, for sure. Right. So those are things that I wanted to talk about this week. Anyway, folks, have a great, great weekend. Enjoy whatever you're doing, and I'll connect with you folks next weekend. Until then, on Discord or other socials. Cheers. Take care. Bye.